Yes, this is a location in Nigeria, and we Nigerians have our different views about the conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Israel has called it besieging a war on Hamas, and they have termed Hamas to be a terrorist group. Meanwhile, the Palestinians are calling the Hamas their freedom fighters. They are on a voyage to reclaim their own land. Recently, Hamas invaded Israel territory and they killed civilians, unarmed civilians. They raped the women, raped the children. They even slaughtered some children. So, and then they took hostages. Now you can say that that is an act of what? Of terrorism. Now, world powers have labeled this as an act of terrorism. And just of recent, we can see that there has been an undertone. And we can see that most of the Arab nations who are Muslims are what are supporting the Palestinians, and most nations that are either non-Muslims are supporting Israel. Look at India, look at UK, look at America, look at Ukraine, look at Sudan. I mean, mention them. All right, Egypt just yesterday, I think they lighted up the flag of Palestinian over their Torah, which means that they are what? They are fully supporting the Muslim, the charge. And the goal of Hamas is to exterminate the whole of Jews, and they want to Islamize the state.
The enemies that, without any provocation at all, invaded Israel with over 1,000 foot soldiers of Hamas from different fronts. Over 20 Israeli communities came under attack simultaneously. And I think the world has condemned that. It's quite condemnable.
The world has condemned that.
Yes, the invasion of Israeli territory by Hamas.
We have China, we have Syria, we have Iran.
What I mean by the world, US has condemned it, Canada has condemned it, the British government have also condemned it. So what else are we talking about? These are the world leaders that will know. And there's no reasonable leader in the world, irrespective of the country and your belief and the kind of system that you operate, that will see what happened in Israel, that will not condemn it, unless that person is not sound upstairs.
But the retaliation Israel is giving is deadly.
What do you now expect from the world's best military, the world's best navy, the world's best military science and technology? Everything about Israel is all about innovation. So that is what they are going to get. They are getting it, massively, and that will teach them a lesson that next time something will not repeat itself. And secondly, I'm of the opinion that at least once and for all, that Israel should continue to activate their intelligence and not look back and not take it for just because of what happened in Jenin in West Bank. They concentrated so much on West Bank, and they left the other flank, from activities that is happening in Gaza. I know that Gaza was still under the watch by Israeli intelligence, but unfortunately, there should be a kind of attention that should be given to the US Israeli military intelligence. I think this will serve as a lesson to Israeli intelligence that it's not a matter of concentrating so much 100% on West Bank, and leaving Gaza Strip. I think that's where the loophole came from, and I think Israel has regrouped. As I'm talking to you now, the ground forces have moved into Gaza Strip, and it's no longer funny for the enemies. Anywhere they are, it's no longer funny. I sympathize with Israel.
An average Nigerian would throw his weight behind either Israel or Palestine because he's a Muslim or a Christian. Let's listen to this.
Sympathize with Israel. I sympathize with Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel is a symbol of history. Israel is a symbol of what Christianity is all about. Israel is a symbol of humanity, and no nation, nobody, no, I've not seen apart from people who have reservations, based on what actually they don't have information about. I believe, I've read, I've checked, I've researched.
I think we can internalize this issue to what is happening in the core north in Nigeria. I think this is the same agenda they have. The intention of these so-called Boko Harams and the likes is against the Western education, the Western tenets of living. They just want to Islamize us and take us back to the old days of the Ottoman Empire. All right. So I think the Israel are retaliating accordingly. The Israel have said that these people are animals who are always thirsty for blood, and they will give them back in equal measures. And I think that's
Do you
justifiable to
see
me.
them as freedom fighters or terrorists?
The Hamas, I don't see them as freedom fighters. I see them as terrorists. As simple as that. Right? And it's not because, maybe because I'm a Nigerian, maybe because I'm a Christian, but the way they have watched, they have exhibited, the atrocities. They could have just invaded and not kill a single soul. That is possible. They could have just taken about 300 hostages and then not touch one person, bargain, going to bargain. But this is what they did. Unarmed Israel citizens. They kill them. They kill them cold-blooded. That's an act of terrorism. That's a terrible way to go about freedom fighter or whatever.
There is so much perspective as to who are the real owners of the land between Israel and Palestine. Many people have said so many things about it, the stories, the historical records, the aboriginal owners of the land, those that settled there first, those that had their forefathers there. So many things have been said about who are the real owners of that land to justify who should occupy that area that is being contested for. Is it Palestine or Israel? What do Nigerians have to say about the history?
Well, it's a long history. The Israels were the original, and this goes way back, even 4,000 years back. All right, and there's a biblical and a Quranic,
Attestation.
attestation to that effect. But here we are today, because of so many, civilization along the years. The Roman empires went to Israel to enslave the Israelites. Then the Arabs came on. They came on board. All right. There used to be a man that they call it was a sultan, a very powerful sultan who invaded Jerusalem back then. Because Jerusalem, they were practicing Judaism, or very similar to Christianity. I can't recall his name now. It was a powerful, descendant. It was the army of the Ottoman Empire. When they got to Jerusalem, they fought the war for over 1 month. This man was already losing that war, but Jerusalem, because of complacency, he was able to defeat them at the end of the day. And after that, he changed Jerusalem to a Muslim headquarter. That's when they took Jerusalem. Those big churches, they all changed to mosque. All right, I think Sophia, we have a Sophia mosque now. It used to be a church. All right, under the Turkish, which is the Ottoman Empire, they converted it to a mosque. All right, so when they took over, they expunged anything called Judaism. Early 20th century, the Jews were returning back to their land. And when they did, they had fights with the Arabs, who were already occupying that land as a dead. Okay, and then the First World War, or was it the Second World War, when the Jews were killed, over 6 million by Hitler, that accelerated their return home. And that was when they signed the deal of 1947 or thereabout, whereby the I think the United Nations now gave back a part of this so-called Palestinian, and they called it Israel. Right? And ever since then, they've never had peace for at least complete 10 years. They've never had peace. That's the truth. Israel have never enjoyed peace for a full decade. The Arabs have always invaded, they've always disturbed them. That's why having an agreement and the likes. So they've always they would reclaim this land, and that was what bettered the issue of Hamas, who were like the armed, let me call it the soldiers wing of the Palestinian. Initially, there used to be PLO, that they call them Palestinian Liberation Officers, organizations. Over time, Hamas came on board because they were more radical, right? And I think they were the one that occupied the Gaza Strip. And now here we are today. they decided to what invade Israel because they felt they are ready. But I think Israel too on their own part they actually slept on their laurels because Israel has been known to have, I think they are the fifth, if I'm not mistaken, they are the fifth state with the biggest and the most intelligence, equipment. Because all their borders are just occupied with surveillance cameras, sensors, and all that. However, Palestinians, these guys were able to beat that system. So what I can say is that even in their own army, I think they have, I think they have saboteurs there. I think they need to look inward as well because those systems wouldn't have failed if someone had not probably switched those things on or someone has not told them how to bypass that system. So I think Israel they need to retaliate and well, it's just gonna be a few coming days. It's gonna be a day of sorrow
Okay.
and blood in that
Let's look
place.
at Russia, China, Iran supporting the Palestine, while US, Britain, Germany for the Israeli. They have warned America not to interfere. That is Russia and China.
Okay, what the Iranians are working hand in hand with China. The Iranians, we know they are very, I mean, they are very blessed and they have abundance of uranium and this their nuclear whatever, whether they have nuclear bombs. And the Russia and China understands that they would, if they want to go to war, they will need a lot of nuclear weapons, and this is why they are in an alliance with Iran. All right, they are an alliance with Iran. I'm surprised that Iran is not a part of this BRICS. I am surprised that Iran has not joined BRICS. All right, but when it comes to military, operations, or when it comes to war operations, Iran and China are always very close, and even Russia, because the Iran understand that Russia and China are always against America. Okay, and for that reason, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Russia and Iran, they don't share the same religious ideology. They don't share the same cultural ideologies. They don't even share the same technological ideologies. But what they have in common is America needs to step down from being a world power. And for that case, come on, we need to overcome these guys. So I think that is why you can see them rally around Iran. So they understand that Iran is the one sponsoring Hamas. Biden came on board. Biden gave Iran a lot of money. He started giving them financial aid. I think he gave them about $6 billion thereabout. Meanwhile, Iran took this money, they used it to weaponize their military. Now to fight against one of the strongest allies of America, because Israel gives intelligence to America. So many times America will rely on Israel's intelligence. So this is more or less like you feeding your own enemy to attack you, and they're not going for them directly. So their own issue is if Israel goes beyond the borders of Gaza and Palestine, because we can see that Lebanon has also been
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah in Lebanon, they've also been they have been interfering in this war and the likes. Over time, Iran will get involved, and if Iran gets involved and Israel over time becomes to overrun Iran, the Chinas and the Russians will see, like Russia particularly, will probably attack Ukraine with even more deadlier weapons, and China will also invade Taiwan. Because they will be of the point that yes, we had a United Nations agreement that we're not going to invade anybody's territory, but here you are. You have empowered Israel. You gave them the biggest warships and the likes, and because of that, Israel has invaded Iran, invaded all the Arab nations. So if they go invade Taiwan, because one of the territory that China have always regretted that they lost is Taiwan. And just like Ukraine, look at Ukraine. Ukraine is very abundant in nuclear weapons. So Russia wants everything possible to be able to reclaim it. So when that happens, they'll call it everything not scatter. Let us scatter everything more after all. I want to scatter, we will recover. You get? So I think that is why you see the Chinese guys and the Russian guys are backing Iran. And they are not just backing them, they are giving them also, military weapons and intelligence.
The Palestinians is not the owner of that land. That land does not belong to them.
In 1948, Israel came to that land. Some people were living there at that point in time. The Palestinians were there at that point in time. So how do you give credibility to your claim?
The credibility is this: very simple. The first Assyrian king, the king, that's his name. When the Babylonians invaded the northern Israel, as at that time, and that was the beginning of Israel scattering. The Assyrians were the people that first of all invaded the geographical natural location of Israel as at that time. Go and check the history is there. And the king that carried out that assault was the king. Go and check the history. The history is there. So Israel started having problem about their land of origin from that era till date. So when that thing happened, then subsequently, remember the issue of Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylon. It was the same geographical location that Daniel, was moved from that natural place of origin to Babylon. You understand? So what is these things? Israel has fought over more than 1,000 wars. Israel they have invaded Israel over 2,000 times. So the remnants of Israel that we are in this present place now, that's the truth, that we are in this present place now, we are not strong enough to form a nation. So, and the role the Roman Empire, the role the British Empire also played in empowering the Palestinians, and that is what we are facing today. So I can definitely tell you that where was Daniel in the Bible when what is the geographical birthplace of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego before they were moved to Babylon? It's a question for everybody.
Would you call Hamas freedom fighters or terrorists?
They are not freedom fighters. They are fighting for misinformation. They are not only informed of who they are. That's the truth. Look at history. Look, the same Gaza. You saw what happened. That was where this man. Remember Samson in the Bible? It was the same place that Samson was murdered by the same people. You understand? So after Israel has been dismantled and scattered, the temple was destroyed and everything. Israel could not hold themselves together until, like you rightly said, 1948, when they came back to power through Chen. That's the name of the guy. The first person that formed Zionist movement was Chen. Then we have Ben Gurion, we have Godame, and one-eyed general, Mushidayan. These are the people that fought all over the world and came back in 1948 and said, initially they wanted to leave Israel. The League then, before United Nations, before the war, League of Nations wanted to move Israel to Brazil, Australia. But Chen refused, because he is the founder of Zionist movement. He said, no, we are going back to where we came from, our father's land. You understand what I'm saying? If you look at what the Bible says, what God told to Abraham at Benicio, when God said, as much as your eye can see, you see, it's just that the world has not come to tell us the beautiful truth. What the land that God promised Abraham was land of milk and honey. And if you begin to reason it, including Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Damascus, all those territories were what God has already given to Abraham. And that's just the truth. You understand? But because of the world has continued to, the world evolution, so to say, has continued to, come up from time to time. And when this thing happened, they said, okay, even when the world agreed to give Israel a land in their territory, they want to give them a place, a desert called Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv was a desert, complete desert, no structure, no house, no road, nothing. They started from there. That was why Tel Aviv is the first capital of Israel. Israel built Tel Aviv from the scratch. From yes, that's the truth. Go and check the history. You understand? So Hamas, one, if they don't want to live peacefully, then they should be ready to face the guns. That's the truth.
Palestinian militant groups led by Hamas launched a large-scale invasion against Israel from the Gaza Strip. The militants broke through the Gaza-Israel barrier and forced their way through Gaza borders, crossing and entering nearby Israeli settlements and military installations. Hamas called it Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Hostilities were initiated in the early morning with a rocket barrage against Israel and vehicle transported incursions into Israeli territory, with several attacks on surrounding Israeli civilian communities and Israeli military bases. Some observers have referred to these events as the beginning of a third Palestinian Intifada. For the first time since 1973 Yom Kippur War, which took place almost exactly 50 years before the 23 attacks, Israel formally declared war. An Israeli operation launched in response was called Iron Swords by the IDF. So far, on both sides have received various fatal casualties.